Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Perfectly Good Podcast, the only podcast on the internet where we discuss every John Hiatt song from A to Z. Joining me as we try to clean the hot plate is my John Hiatt sibling, Sylvan Groth. How you doing, Sylvan?
Great. And yes, a hot plate, perfect little metaphor for John's life and this particular song.
So today we are talking about Ain't Ever Going Back. Tell us a little bit about, we still are working on a fun categories. Like right now we're saying song facts, but we're still trying to work on this. So for now, we'll talk about song facts. So what do we got?
I can't say too many times how often and how much we would like feedback. So anyone has cute little monikers they want to give us for our segments, great. If you guys say, hey, you spend too much time on this, go ahead, tell us that.
Absolutely.
But just the facts, sir, on Ain't Ever Going Back. That is from
I like just the facts. That's pretty good.
From 2005's Master of Disaster. It was track 7. And that is the album that the North Mississippi Allstars were backing John. And it was recorded in Memphis in 2005. So as a reminder, the North Mississippi Allstars were Luther and Cody Dickinson, who are the offspring of Jim Dickinson, who produced this album. And also Chris Chu is the bass player. Kind of a lot was made over the age gap of the backing band, and people have been talking about how old John is since he was younger than I am, which makes me feel rather decrepit at this point. But the ages at that point, John was 53 when this album was released, and Luther, the younger of the North Mississippi Allstars, was 32. So, they could have been his kids just as easily as they could have been Jim Dickinson's kids. But what's kind of interesting is I find this song in particular and the album as a whole to kind of have a more worn in, mature feeling, as opposed to when they were making a big deal over the age gap of the band and John with Perfect Good Guitar. It was all just about this young noise racket. And there's definitely an old-fashioned blues riff that Luther brings to this song. And lyrically, I was trying to actually determine where this would rank in the most repetitive of John's lyrics, because it's pretty repetitive. He says, ain't ever going back no more, pretty much every other line as a couplet. And there are a few where he'll say the line over and over again. I think the title of most repetitive song might be What Do We Do Now, which will be unfortunately for me and Jesse and all of you years from now that we're talking about what do we do now. So those are the kind of the facts. What are your feelings about this song, Jesse?
So I to pull the curtain back, we do know in advance the 2 to 3 songs we're going to discuss. So what I've done is I've created 2 Spotify playlists. I have the songs that we've talked, and that way I could always just tweet that out or share that. And then I take the songs that we're going to talk about and I make it to Studying John is the name of that playlist. And so I just kind of play those songs over and over again. And,
I did pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. And I went a pretty far, I went on a journey with this song. At first I was like, not sure I like this one. He's screaming a little too much. I don't like necessarily a bluesy John. And, I'm not someone who, for example, take a drink, Bruce Springsteen. When Tom Morello was touring with the E Street Band, Morello would play these fantastic guitar solos, and everybody like, oh, I'm like, yeah, it's good, but I'm not into long guitar solos. I'm not into long drums solos. I like the song, but the more I started listening to this, the more my meter changed to, this has got something in it. This song, and we're going to get to the lyrics in it, but as I started, this brought me, and I ended up liking this a, a lot more than I thought I would. Spending the time with it over the past 2 or 3 days, I think this is actually a very a strong song, and y- you know, you never know exactly how autobiography, that's easy for me to say, songs are. John normally is very much talking about his life, but
So he denies it in every case. Yes.
yes, he does, right? But this character, and let's say that, not John, this character is really talking about the the trials and troubles he's had in a relationship, and his talking about the good, talking about the bad, but weighing it out. To me, and please correct me if you disagree, when I weigh this out, the bad greatly outweighs the good, and I need to move on. Am I
Absolutely.
okay? I'm not overthinking it.
Well, yeah, I think you're right on. And also, I kind of feel like what the character or John is doing at in this song is wrapping up the relationship he was in with who he was at that time, which is something that we definitely do. And I think that's really interesting in putting in the context of, is this the 50-year-old narrator or the 30-year-old narrator, John or the band at that point? Because, he's talking about what she did. And then he keeps on saying, I ain't ever going back no more. And I don't care about this, or, I just had all this sorrow around this time. And you know, it's that chip on your shoulder when you've been struggling with someone and then you just kind of say, is it me? Is it you? Or is it us? And he's constantly saying, I ain't ever going back no more, as in, I'm not going to live that way. Or what most resonated for me in the meaning was, I'm going to stop dwelling on these thoughts. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to move on from this relationship in this time. Yet, what is he doing? Back and he goes back and back and back each time. Even the almost the last line or the second to last chorus is, honey, I will remember you. So he
and
keeps on saying, I'm not going to dwell on this, yet here I am dwelling.
and so I'm interpreting it, I'm saying it is a relationship with a lover,
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Your I love your thoughts that it actually is his behavior. And if we put it under the prism of and Betsy Hodges, who has been she's been on the Set Listing Bruce podcast multiple times. She talks how much John music has helped her in her journey through sobriety. What if he's talking about his relationship with alcohol?
That could very well be. I mean, there's plenty of alcohol references, both direct and indirect,
Yeah,
throughout the song. Bartender, won't you hit the lights? He's closing the place.
yeah. I mean, she danced the room, she made it fine. I sang a song about a crooked line. I ain't going back no more.
Mm-hmm.
The alcohol, being drunk, danced the room, made
Mm-hmm.
my world seem fine. I, you know, I looking at it that way, it gives you a whole nother thought, right? A pint of gin, a long bus trip. Somebody said, you just get over it. Um, so regardless of what it is definitely someone saying, I need to move forward. And I it is going to be tempting to come back. The holds that you can't go home again. Um, how many times do you go to an old neighborhood? Springsteen's Glory Days is all about that, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And so this saying, I love that, the idea that this is, for me and for my sanity, I've got to move forward. Um, and I think the song can be all of the above.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, well said. And I love that idea of it being a love letter, a Dear John letter to alcohol too.
Yeah.
That, you know, and it can be all of the things above. And my reaction was very similar to yours, that I was kind of lukewarm toward it. And then as I listened to it, I kept on catching myself going, oh, that's a great line. Oh, that's a great line. And then it's like, well, why do I not think of this as like, I want to introduce someone to how brilliant a lyricist John is. I'm going to put on Ain't Ever Going Back.
Yeah.
Never would occur to me.
No.
But it's there, it's just, it kind of seems like it's hidden behind the repetitiveness. I'm not sure. And, maybe that's intentional too, that, he's reflecting just that your brain isn't working, whether you're trying to recover from an addiction or you're getting out of a bad relationship. We've all had those conversations, whether you're trying to help someone achieve sobriety or you're just dealing with someone who's finally dumped that jerk that you've been wanting them to dump for a while. And like, yeah, I know that this is something that you've wanted to say goodbye to for a long time. We've been waiting. Yeah.
Because like, you think about it, and she's my first love and she's my last. Don't ask me how it ever came to pass, because I ain't ever going back no more. That's a very clever line. That's a very deep line. That my first and last, and don't ever ask me how it came to pass. I mean, in his mind, at least my thoughts, is this was it. This was, you know, final destination. This was the end game, as they say in shipping. You're right. This is end game. This is, she and I are going to be together. And then it was good till it wasn't. And then he has to move on.
Yeah. And yeah, just a little bit further down in the lyrics, a little something to remember me. It's been so long, Lord, she mustn't see. So even after this time, he's trying to hide the impact and the feelings. Again, whether we're talking about an actual woman or something else.
Yeah. And right, you said only one thing in my life is true. But instead of saying, and I forget what it is, honey, I will remember you. This is a long song too.
Yes.
Even though there is a lot of repetition, there is that power of, I ain't ever going back no more. Won't even try to find that door. I ain't ever going back no more. Don't care what the past has in store. I ain't ever going back no more. I ain't ever going back no more. It's almost like this is a repetitiveness refrain, similar to a mantra of, I'm not going back no more. I'm not going back no more. Is he convincing himself? Is he doing this as a, I make jokes sometimes when you're really excited about, when you hear there's going to be a new album from an artist you love, or somebody's in a new movie, you go, please be good, please be good, please be good. And this is like, I ain't going back no more, ain't going back no more, ain't going back no more. Yeah. What do you think? And we are been very honest, we are not musicians, but musically, do you like how this works?
Yeah, it's a very slow pace. You were kind of talking about not really hooking into the side of it. I love that.
Okay.
And just the mournfulness and the wail of the guitar and the, way it just kind of keeps on coming around again. Like there's a momentum to the tempo and then it just winds back and it very much fits the theme that we're talking about. I also was thinking as I was listening to this that part of why I probably hadn't ever thought of it as an example of his strong lyrics is I would say this is one of the harder ones to understand. So I actually had to check my notes on where John's throat surgery on his vocal cords was in compared to this song. And it was about 5 years before this. So maybe he
Okay.
was kind of getting used to that. But I find that it's not quite as clearly articulated as some of his other things. Like some of those first lines, I don't know as I ever even got, and I probably wouldn't get if, thank goodness, thank you, producers and all the people who make the decisions to package CDs with lyrics. Please continue to do that. I hate when that
Absolutely.
happen.
Yes.
But the first line, come out of a fireball, notes burning and the letters scrawled. I would be willing to bet that at least 7 out of 10 John Hyatt fans could listen to the first lines of this song and not come up with that exactly.
I agree. And and we talked about that, right? That he paints this image, bare light, bulb, and a hot plate that was there when I finally met my fate. That paints a picture of a beaten down uh, apartment with either
Yes.
a very poor college student or somebody who is not doing well.
Someone who decided to drive to Nashville to get $25 a week writing songs.
Yes. um and as I listen to this, I think he does use his voice to help tell that story. I
Hmm.
think as he kind of grow, not grunts, but he growls, and
Yes.
then he gets a little louder, and
Mhm.
then he stretches a little more, and he's like,
Mm.
that he kind of has a little more blues and a little more passion in there, and then they do give the guitar solo, and as I'm listening to this, I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of an exclamation point there, that this point that he's doing this and I think ultimately it's up to you as the listener. Is this a plea, a prayer, or a defiant statement? And I think the beauty of this is we don't know.
I think that's a great way to approach the song and to ask yourself that question. You're really good at that, Jesse. Come questions for the
Yeah.
songs. And
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed it before, but I also do think that it very much evolves from first verse to last line of how clearly you can make out what he's saying. And that makes perfect sense that,
Yeah.
he's sitting in that room feeling sad for himself, mumbling, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden he's just like, no, no, I'm going to fight this. I ain't ever going back. And just more and more gets this oomph behind him. Whether he ever follows through is another question that you can ask yourself about the song.
I don't know if there's a database somewhere out there. There probably is, but I'm like, I wonder how often he plays this live when he was that pure. It would have been interesting to see. Uh
Well, that
because
was interesting because I was asking myself that too. It's like I know I've seen this performed, but I feel like it fell off pretty fast. That it's
yeah,
not one that comes along in the rotation very often.
yeah,
And it's certainly not one that I've ever sat next to someone at a show and said, "Oh, what would you really love to hear?" And they're like, "Yeah, this one."
yeah. I
But
mean, yeah, this is, there is every song is someone's favorite song. So you can
absolutely.
guess there is someone with the cardboard sign going, play ain't going back. And but you're right. This would not be, I think, on the top list of a lot of listeners or fans, but who knows? Maybe they'll tell us different after this episode goes out. Any final thoughts before we rate?
No, just gosh, this is fun.
Isn't this fun?
Going through the songs this way. Cause yeah, like I said, it's not one that I would have top of mind or I would ever like say, you know what I'm in the mood to throw on right now is Ain't Ever Going Back. But some of those little couplets and lines are really just such a gut punch. And it is a beautiful song. It is a John Hyatt song.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so if you had asked me after the first thrill through it, I would, it's a 2. It's nothing, it's just a 2. Now that I'm almost tempted to give it a 4, just
That's a jump.
because, yeah, I know, but just the us discussing it and kind of the way the song is put together musically and the way he uses the lyrically, repetition is a communication tool, as they talk a lot about in West Wing or speech shows, that repetition can help make a point. I think I'll end at 3.5. Are we going to allow half points?
Oh gosh, that's a slippery slope.
It is. So I think I'm going to go 3.
Right.
Like I said, Mike, I think, and also us talking about it kind of made me even think higher of it. So, but I think I'll go 3. How about you?
I very much enjoyed talking about it, but I'm going to stick with my guns, which was a 2.
Okay.
Strictly because there are so many good songs, and there are songs that you don't have to work that hard to understand how great they are. And maybe that's my own shortcoming, is that
no, I think that's
I
good.
have to work to understand how good this one is. It's a beautiful song. There are some beautiful lines, but it's not the way that's gonna like grab you and make you remember, which is also kind of interesting, giving those themes in the song.
Yes.
So it's a good song, but
yes,
there's just so many better ones.
I absolutely agree. I think that is perfect. All right. So we average out 2.5. And so there we go. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right. So you need to tell us, listeners, if you agree with us. We have, as we're recording this, we've had 2 or 3 episodes out. We got some feedback, didn't we, Sylvan?
Yeah. I don't think anyone was really arguing our points, but we're definitely hearing from people that they're looking forward to songs. And as a reminder, we are going in alphabetical order. So I completely understand people want to talk about Have a Little Faith in Me and Slow Turning. It's going to take a while, guys.
Yes. Yes.
Stay with us.
Yes. And I hope that this isn't, one of the reasons I was excited to do this is it gives you a chance to sit with a few songs that may not normally make your playlist, kind of live with it a little bit and decide. Hopefully we've given you a little bit different thoughts on this. I know that's what I really appreciated this. We did get some feedback on our first couple episodes.
We heard from one of my oldest online friends, not age-wise, but person I've been talking to the longest, Jürgen Feldman from Germany, who has a website called Perfectly Good Cigar. And he said that he gave it a listen, and despite not being an English native speaker, he could understand us. So thank you, Jürgen. And I would love it if I could hear your voice someday. Like you said, hey, I've been reading your words and now I finally heard your voice 30 years later.
You do, listeners, you have the ability to leave us a voicemail. The number is 469-249-2442. It is a general Google voicemail that I give for all the different podcasts I do. So, but you can specifically talk about anything feedback you want to give us. We love constructive feedback. I'm an old man and would prefer praise, but constructive feedback is always appreciated. So we want to hear from you. I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. The show is at Perfectly Good PD on Twitter. Sylvan, you are at
Dana. And we also have some Facebook presence and a Google site where you can kind of keep track of the list as we go through, and all our contact information is on there as well.
Yeah, we are working on a shared document where you can sign up to guest host an episode. We're still debating back and forth, but we may do for like something like Have a Little Faith in Me. Sylvan and I may do the breakdown of the episode, and then we may do a second episode where we get a Zoom call of 6 or 7 people and we just share stories about the song and just what it's mean to them, and if they played it in their weddings or it was there. So I think that we're trying to figure that out. Yeah. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Call in with your stories now and we can bank them, or we'll figure it out. We've got time.
Absolutely. Well, this was fun. I appreciate it. We're getting through the alphabet slowly but surely. What's our next song so they can do some homework before next week when they listen to us?
Next one, they might have to do a little digging for, but it will be well worth it. We are actually going to talk about the fact that John covered his daughter Lily's song, All Kinds of People, for a special record day single a few years ago. So if you can't find John's version, go ahead and get Lily's album, Trinity Lane, and give a listen to All Kinds of People. And imagine her dad singing that.
Yes, it made me want to get a turntable because it was only available on albums. So yes. All right. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Sylvan. We will talk to you soon, and have a little faith.
Have a little faith.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Baby, we can come on home and put the cow horns back on the cattle.